Hello again, Internet. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. So we have got not one, not two, but three new properties we're going to discuss in this video today. All three of these properties are in the Highland Meadows subdivision of Valencia County. All three of these are not adjacent, but pretty damn close. There's one lot in between them. So I'm making one video, posting it on 3 listing pages because pretty much everything I say here about one property will apply to the other two. With all that said, let me just introduce these to you. These are respectively VLNM2127K, L, and M. The K property is essentially 1.3 acres, priced at $1,500. The L property is this one, L like Larry. It is 2.5 acres, priced at $2,700. And the M property, M like Mary, is also 2.5 acres, also priced at $2,700. With all that said, I'm going to focus on the K property, the $1,500 one in this video, but again, pretty much everything I say here will apply to all three. So let's bring this one up on a map and do it as we always do by coming down here on the listing page, clicking any one of these GPS coordinates, and it shall appear on the Google Maps. Before I talk about where exactly the subdivision is and some of the things you need to know about living out here, first let me just give you a sense of the distance between these three properties. So first off, as noted, this is the K property. It sits here along Fruita Road. The L property sits basically at the corner of Fruita and this unnamed road. And the M property sits over here along the unnamed road. So if we go to map view and I just kind of zoom in on this, I could show you this block right here is the K property. This long rectangle here is the L property. And this long rectangle here is the M property. We don't own this one and we don't own this one. Okay? So with all that said, let's pull back, talk about the subdivision, where it is in New Mexico itself. So for those of you familiar with the geography, Albuquerque is up here in the north central part of the state. This subdivision sits roughly about 30 miles west, due west along the 40. In fact, if we right click and measure distance, you can see about 30 miles. Of course, that's an easy 30-mile drive because it's all along the I-40 where the speed limit is something like 70, 75. So you're going to be able to get in and out of Albuquerque pretty quickly. If you're going to continue to work there, if this is going to be a home site or just a second home, a kind of rural retreat that you have, and you need to get back and forth pretty quick, that's going to be easy to do. Additionally, Los Lunas down here, 2 major population centers within the state. Los Lunas down here in Valencia County is also about 30 miles away, but of course you've got this kind of trek along the 6, which kind of snakes throughout the foothills to get down here. So it's a little more picturesque drive, though it may take you a little bit longer to do. Whatever the case, down here, you've got things like the Walmart Supercenter, which is going to be easily accessed along the 6. It's really just right here along the western edge of town, along with all the other sort of amenities that Los Lunas has, dining, shopping, nightlife, Home Depot, whatever. But point being, you're going to have easy access to both of those. Now, it should be noted that out here, as you head west along the 40, it gets a little rural out here. If you want to do grocery and supply runs and you don't want to drive all the way to Los Lunas, your best option here is going to be Mesita. Should be noted, Mesita is it's a small town. It's got a grocery store. It's got some little supply stores, but it's not huge. It's not big. Most likely anything big that you do as far as groceries and supplies are going to be probably down there at the Walmart or in nearby Albuquerque. Now, it should also be noted that in close proximity to the subject properties is the Route 66 Casino over here. Route 66, of course, not only has gaming, but also the buffet. They have the restaurants out there. They got movie theaters. Occasionally, they host some concerts out there. So you're not completely in the middle of nowhere. You do have some great activities, some things you could do over here. Additionally, it should be noted that all of these properties sit in very close proximity to the Mesa Redonda down here. Right here, along with all the other foothills that exist in this area. So aside from all the really picturesque, pretty views that you're going to have from the property, you're also going to have some trails that you can explore, etc. So some camping, some trails, some hiking, so on and so forth, if you are into that sort of thing. With all that said, let's talk about the subdivision a little bit. So Highland Meadows is this area that you see carved out here. Now you have 2 sections here. Really, the north section is just north of the 6 up here. You'll notice this is a little more densely populated. In this area, you have underground utilities and you have power up and down every road, which is why you see so many people living out here. There are fewer people living in the southern portion of this subdivision, and that's because power is not as it's not along every street out here. You'll see concentrations of some homes over here. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of power over there, and you'll see concentrations of homes over here, like along Calle de Llano. Calle de Llano is a paved road. You've got about a dozen people living out here along this. etc. These three properties sit not far from that. Now, we'll get back to power in just a second, but I also want to point out to you guys the Highland Meadows Volunteer Fire Department is very close to these three subject properties. And you've got the police station over here in nearby Mesita. I believe it's the Laguna Pueblo. This is, I should mention, because I recently got this question, this is not reservation land. That being said, the Laguna Pueblo, I believe they have some sort of jurisdictional, they manage, they police everything kind of west of the Pajarito Mesa out here. So they're kind of the authority out here, even though this is not, or they're one of the authorities out here, I should say, even though this is not reservation land. FYI. With all that said, let me zoom in just a little bit here and just talk about the power situation with these three properties. So I want to make it clear that there's not power at the lot line of these three properties. This one, however, is probably the closest to power. Now, I will just say that if you look down here in Cali de Llano, as I mentioned, this is a paved road over here, home sites, a lot of people with power going right at their lot line. If we zoom in on the map, you can see one of those power lines right there. You can also see there's power along the back end of these properties here along Fruita. The last power line that I see is this one, which is roughly about 700 feet from the subject property. Again, if we right-click and measure distance, you can see, yeah, about 750 feet. Now, who knows if that one's operational, because this looks like this might be abandoned. Maybe somebody's not living there. But it's safe to bet that this one, just a little further along, probably is operational. Whatever the case, I just want to communicate to you guys that these three lots don't have power at the lot line, but power very close by. Now, additionally, along this unnamed road where the L and the M properties sit, particularly the M property, sits pretty close to this home site over here. Now, this is not an abandoned home site. There is somebody living out here, power servicing this property, and you can see power along the back end of the property. You also see it here. We've sold some lots along this end of the street, and they all have power along the back end. Now, power kind of trails off a little bit here, but the point is that even if you're looking to buy the 2.5 acre M like Mary property, power probably about equidistant as it is from this one. So either way, you're roughly about 700, 1,000 feet away from the nearest power line. Blah, blah, blah. With all that said, let me just go to the photo gallery here, guys. I just want to show you, as always, the photos that we have are from these specific properties. So this is a little tour of the region out here. Number one, as noted, this is the paved road. This is Cali de Llano, and you can see out here not only just the power lines that are running the length of this, but you could also see what some of the neighbors' homes are like. A lot of times people will ask, can I use this land to camp or as like an RV type property? It's officially in the Valencia County zoning ordinance that would be prohibited in this region. Realistically speaking, does anyone ever get fined for it? I don't know. But as you scroll through the pictures here, the takeaway is that you can see what some of your neighbors are working with here. They've got mobile modular homes. They've got some mobile homes with permanent foundations. You can see RVs out here, but usually when the RV is, on the property of a home, it's less offensive to county than it would be if it were just there, with people indiscriminately camping out of it. I think it has a lot to do with waste disposal. But anyway, point being, the other takeaway from this, as we saw in the last photo, is that these are roads that are easy to drive. It's not just the paved road over here, but this is what Fruita looks like. So any type of vehicle is going to be able to get up and down this and get out to the subject properties. So you're not going to need a big truck to do that. Now, of course, one of the other things that you can see here is that all of this land is what I call flat buildable land, which means you don't need to come in and do a lot of landscaping. There's not a lot of rocks to deal with. It's not a big hilly property. There's no major slope to the terrain. This is the kind of thing you can come out here, whatever you're going to build or park out here, you're going to be able to do it with, little resistance. Maybe a little bit of landscaping, but it's not like a major $10,000 or $20,000 job where you have to come in here and really start excavating to get, any sort of semblance of like a home site. Blah, 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 blah. Additionally, you can see some of the other neighbors' properties here. And as we go through this, you also get a sense of the Mesa Redonda that sits off in the near distance, as well as, I know there's more home sites coming up in some other photos here. Hang on a second. Yeah, you start to get a sense of this with the telephoto shots of some of the other homes that are out here, some of these, as well as that sort of spectacular Mesa Redonda view that I was talking about. So I will let you guys peruse the photo galleries on your own time. That being said, this is what the area looks like. By the way, one thing I forgot to show you guys is with these properties, you can access them by coming in here off the 6. There's an entrance here off the 6, and you can kind of snake your way up to the property this way. Or, guys, check this out. There's actually kind of fancy entrance to the subdivision here along Sparrowhawk Road. off of this way. So if you just come in here and bang a sharp left and go down this road, you're going to get to the subject properties this way as well. Let me just take the little guy here on Google Maps, place him here on this thing, and I can show you guys exactly what this looks like. Other way, hang on. Ah, look at that. Fancy entrance right here. So this is one of the entrances to the Highland Meadows subdivision. And again, you can see some home sites out here. You see some power running this way. Blah, blah, blah. One thing I want to point out to you guys, for those of you who are curious about the zoning, so if you come up here under zoning, this area is defined as an outland district. It seems to have the exact same kind of zoning ordinances as a rural residential 1 district. So if you click this PDF, it's going to bring up rural residential 1 zoning ordinances. This is not the outland district zoning ordinance. We could not find that anywhere in Valencia County's, online files. But my understanding is that everything here applies to that. Now, if you have really specific questions, I mean, look, if you're going to build a home, if you're going to build a single family residence, as long as everything's up to code, nobody's ever really going to have a problem with that. If you want to do something, particularly, that is not common in New Mexico, like let's say tiny homes or a shipping container home or something like that, that's one of those things that you want to investigate with the county. But I mean, reading through this will give you a sense of how this area is zoned, and just different things that you should be aware of. And by the way, recreational vehicles shall not be used as primary residences in any RR district. That's one of those things I pointed out to you. So if you read through this 6-page document, it's a quick read. You'll get a sense of, things like maximum building height for any dwelling shall be 30 feet. Okay. There's some, uniformity here, quote unquote, aesthetic uniformity that they like with the homes that are built within this region or, whatever's out there. Point being, guys, if you have really specific questions, I advise that you don't call me because I don't know that much more than what's on this listing page. Call Valencia County's Planning and Zoning Office. Talk to them. Say, hey, I'm looking to buy some land in Highland Meadows. I want to do X, Y, and Z. What do I need to be aware of? What permits am I going to need? Is it something I can even do out there? Blah, blah, blah. They can guide you better on that sort of thing. So take a look at the PDF. And then if there's anything there that remains unanswered, come down here, go to Planning Zoning's, website, their phone number, reach out to them, talk to them. Before you give us any money, before you give anybody any money for any land that you're buying, make sure that you, acquaint yourself with these things, that you familiarize yourself with what is and is not allowed out there. Now, additionally, we also have the number for PNM. PNM, of course, is a local utility out there that services this region. You could talk to them about, hey, I'm looking to buy some property. There's power roughly, about a block away from my place. If I need to get it extended, what does something like that cost? That's a conversation you'll also want to have prior to purchase. And additionally, we also have the Office of the State Engineer. If you're going to drill a well out here, a residential well, you're going to get permitted through this office. These are the people that you're going to want to talk to about that. When it comes to, just practically speaking, the process of what's involved in that, we always recommend talking to the Office of the State Engineer. This is their website. But when it comes to what is it going to cost me to actually drill this well? That's a good question for local well drillers, local vendors who deal with that specifically and know the area intimately. When I see a region like this, hang on, guys, where there's this many people living, in close proximity to one another like this, and there's no city utilities out there, that suggests to me that the water table is actually pretty accessible. Probably, not that difficult or expensive to tap into, to drill down to. Generally speaking, I believe well drilling costs are by the foot of how far down you're drilling. So obviously the further down you drill, the more expensive it's going to be. Most of these homes are using wells, using things like that to service the property, bathing water, drinking water, etc. So it suggests to me that the water table is pretty accessible. Blah, blah, blah. Additionally, I also want to point out to you guys, we have some links here to some nearby points of interest. I mentioned the Route 66 casino, so I'll just bring up the website here. Of course, they're probably closed right now because of the coronavirus, but as you can see, many, many things to do when they are open normally. So places to eat, movie theaters, things like that, and also places for the kids. I like these lots. I like these Highland Meadows lots because it's a good alternative if you're living in Albuquerque or Los Lunas and you're tired of seeing your rent go up every year. If you actually want to own a piece of property as opposed to be renting it and be subject to other people's whims about, whether that's, whether you've got a mobile home in a trailer park and rent's going up every year, or you're renting an apartment and you want a place for yourself, and maybe you've saved up enough money to build, but not enough money to, say, buy a house. This may be a good way to do it. Anyway, with all that said, I just want to let you know all three of these properties were closed on and insured through New Mexico Land and Title. So we have title insurance on all three of them. We'll be providing warranty deeds for all three of them, etc. So if these are properties that you are interested, all you have to do, go to the Buy Now button on any one of these listing pages. It'll bring up a secure checkout. As noted, the 1.3 acre property is $1,500. The other 2.5 acre properties are $2,700 each. Whatever the case, it'll take you to a checkout page. Looks a lot like this. We ask you for a couple things: legal name for deed, tax address, where's Valencia County going to send the annual tax statement. Once you enter that information, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the next page we'll ask for credit or debit card information. You enter that. Once you give us the money, as far as we are concerned, you own the land. Now, practically speaking, let me just explain the process. Within 24 hours, you give us money. Within 24 hours, we're going to get a copy of a new deed to you in an email. Once you approve it, we're going to get it autographed, notarized, and we're going to mail it off to Valencia County to be recorded. County's going to record, and then they're going to forward on the recorded version to you. So from start to finish, it's about 3 weeks before you have that official document in your hands. But as noted, we are the owners of the property, and once you give us money, as far as we're concerned, you are the new owner. So if you want to go out there on day one and begin, whatever, camping, building, etc., feel free to do that. Feel free to do as your heart desires. With all that said, guys, if you have any questions, if I missed anything, leave us a comment here on the YouTube or shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or as always, phone number is 702-919-7170. We love talking to our buyers. So with all that said, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.